dun 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 dun.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Lavi. I'm Australian and Persian, and we're in Naples, and I'm showing you around Naples, and I'm so excited. Today is a great day. It's sunny, and we're in Piazza del Gesù.
Why are you here in Napoli?
I'm here to visit friends and to explore Naples some more. And I also came just to see different places and just to hang out with people and yeah, just have a good time like always.
Why do you have friends in Naples?
Because I came to live here. I guess I just went to different bars and I ended up meeting different people. Or even through Instagram. Instagram's a really great place to meet people, I think. As soon as I moved to Naples and I made it clear that I was in Naples, I got people texting me through Instagram and wanting to meet. And yeah, I guess that's how I made most of my friends. Actually, most of my friends are medical students randomly because I met this one person who introduced me to them. And then other people, I even met a very good friend of mine on a random train. Just very random places. People are quite warm in Naples, Italy.
What made you come to Naples in the first place?
I was working in Switzerland, in Zurich, in that moment, and I remember I was trying to go through with a life plan where I wanted to start investing in houses and apartments and turning them into more livable and more attractive apartments, and then putting them on the market for sale or for rent. And then I realized that I didn't want to go through with something so big so fast in my life, and I wanted to slow down and kind of still live and do things that were more exciting, more of my age at that moment. I received a phone call from a friend of mine from Naples. She's the only person I really was friends with in Naples at that time. She understood that I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do in that moment in time, and I was very confused, and I wanted to go through with this plan but also not too much. And she said, why don't you come to Naples? And I remember within the week I was in Naples. Then I stayed here for about a week, and then the next week I had already found an apartment, and from there I was set and I decided to stay.
What do you do for a living, if I may ask?
At the moment, I'm starting to get started with my band and starting to do shows at the end of the summer. And apart from that, I am an oriental dancer. I'm a belly dancer, and I do spectacles and shows. And at the moment, I'm just seeing where's my next show.
Where did you learn belly dance?
I self-taught myself since I was maybe 16 years old is when I first started to belly dance properly. I remember I had done a little bit when I was a child just for fun, and I realized that it was something I really loved because it's something where there's a lot of tension and a lot of anxiety and stress held in the hips, and when you're able to express yourself and move your hips, it's something that relieves a lot of tension and helps the body a lot, and that's what basically got me into belly dancing in the first place.
Can person with a beer belly do a belly dance?
Absolutely. I definitely think that the more belly you have, also the more expressive your dance will be, so most definitely.
And if I may ask, how old are you now?
I'm 19.
What's your motivation to wake up every morning?
I think my cat, I have a cat named Nilu, and I always think when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I should do is feed him and give him something to drink, and that motivates me to get up as quick as I possibly can. And apart from that, I think I have many things I want to do in my life and so many things I want to experience. Well, that should be the biggest motivation at the end of the day, not necessarily arriving to a destination, but kind of the journey to get wherever you have to go.
Did you bring your cat here?
Actually, no, I didn't. He's at the moment in Paris with a friend of mine, staying at her house along with her cat as well, and yeah.
So you're saying you're visiting your friends in Naples, right?
Yes.
Then where do you base at the moment?
I'm based in Paris at the moment.
And what do you do there?
I'm working with my band, Les Tours de Pluton. I'm sometimes doing some belly dance events, and I'm writing. I'm a writer. I love to write, and I'm working on a new book recently. I'm not sure when it will be released, but anyways, these are the types of things that I do in Paris, along with many nights out and strange decisions.
If I may ask, how do you manage to move from here to there, like financially?
Well, I'm a belly dancer, and so I make quite a lot of money from just events and kind of just dancing, which is something I love to do. And I think everybody should find a job that they love and are able to make good profit off of. And I'm so lucky that it was dancing for me. And apart from this, I've had various jobs in the past where it's allowed me to make money and save up and just be able to live the way I do now. So I'm really grateful for that.
What is it like to be able to travel all around the world?
I definitely think that there's so many things that are there to discover around the world that many people don't know about. And once you get a taste for many different cultures and many different places, you start to find patterns in the way people act and different cultural norms that maybe if you go to one place they simply would have never thought of, and it gives you a really large perspective on many different things, and it's very opens your mind very much.
What did you like about Naples when you were here?
I really enjoyed the food culture particularly. I think that here you really eat well, and especially I love to cook, and so you would just get the freshest ingredients and so many amazing things offer you with food here.
What was your favorite food, if you pick just one?
Cozzitiello.
What is
which
it?
Is basically a bread, kind of, I'm not sure what type of bread this is called, but it's like a white bread, like a bigger version of a baguette. And I know that's very funny of me to say, seeing that I just came from Paris. Anyways, ignore that. And they cut it halfway, and then they take out the inner part of the bread, and they fill it with things like ragu, which is like a type of bolognese, and they fill it also with meatballs, and just depends what you like. There's many different types of cozzitiellos. They also have with parmigiana di melanzane, which is basically eggplant and cheese and many good things, and they put it inside the bread, and you can just walk around and eat it, and I think it's the best street food here in Naples.
And what were the things that you didn't really enjoy here?
I think that I didn't really enjoy the closed-mindedness. I think that there's a lot of happening here and a lot of chaos as well, and there's a lot going on and a lot of creativity, but I also found that my particular type of creativity wasn't really something that people like to explore in this part of the world, I'd say. And also just my open-mindedness to dress the way I do and to act the way I do, with how I perform in many different ways, is just not the standard here, and people don't necessarily tap into that the way I do.
And that's one of the reasons why you moved to Paris?
Yeah, I think a big reason why I left Naples and moved to Paris, or not necessarily moving to Paris, but just to move somewhere else, was mostly to explore that part of myself, of course, and kind of just to get away and kind of live something new for myself, for sure. I used to come and go to this beach and lay in the sand in the summertime. It's I forgot the name of this beach, to be totally honest with you, but
is it beach?
I mean, not necessarily, but you can use it as one. I feel like I used to, so I was told that, I mean, it's the closest beach that you can get to the city center, and yeah, some people come here, and I used to come here as well.
Is it a normal thing here in Naples?
I mean, definitely, but there are a lot of better beaches than this one, at least in terms of size and cleanliness, I'd say, but it's still a great beach to go to.
How much was the rent in general here in Napoli?
The prices for rent, you can always find different things. It would be around, you can find a great apartment, maybe 60-80 meters squared for €1,000 a month, and that would be utilities included, most likely.
Is it room sharing?
For room sharing, oh, you can find things for €300
a month?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
You can find, or I mean, also 500 and 600, but not more than 600 for sharing.
If I have around €1,000, I can live by myself?
Absolutely. Or even 700, from 700 onwards, if you have that much to spend on rent, absolutely you can live on your own.
So you mentioned you published your book. Can you tell us about it?
It's a autobiography, and basically it talks about my life, but also in a very interesting way. It's very poetic. I talk about, there are a few recipes, there are things about science, and there are just my general views on life and different aspects and thoughts I have on life. and of what I've lived. And there are many grammatically very interesting ways that I tend to express different events that have occurred in my life. And the book doesn't centralize around events, but in any case I do talk about them. Yeah, that's basically how the book is.
Where can we find it?
You can find it on my Instagram bio, and it's free at the moment. And yeah, you can just go into my link tree and you'll find it. I've made it as an ebook because it's easier to zoom into the pictures and to have a general better experience of the book, in my opinion.
What did you do during the pandemic?
I remember I was in a boarding school when it was all released in the media that COVID was spreading. They actually told us to leave from the university and we had to go back to our home countries. For me, in that time, I didn't want to return to my family. I didn't really want to go back to... They were living in Hong Kong at the time. I was speaking to this person at the time in my life, and he had told me that I could have came to stay with his family in the countryside. So that's what I did in that time. I went to the countryside and I stayed for a few months. Herisau, very small town in Switzerland. After that, I went to Paris. After 3 months of living there with that family, I went to Paris and I lived there for around 6 months. Yeah, there were times where we had to quarantine and times where we didn't. It just depended on the moment. Then after that, I went to Rome, and after those 6 months in Paris and in Rome, I stayed for a while as well, around 6 months, and that was basically the time of COVID.
What's your role in your band?
I am the main vocalist at the moment, and I also dabble in instruments as well. I do the bass sometimes, I play with drums and darbuka, sometimes saz, which is a Turkish instrument, and darbuka, which is also a Middle Eastern instrument, commonly used for belly dance performances as well.
What do you think is life?
I think it's just a beginning and a continuance. Not necessarily anything too deep or anything too difficult or complicated to explain. I just think that we come from somewhere and we go somewhere, and that's what life is.
What's your motivation to travel around the world?
I think that I'm really curious what I can find and what I can learn going around the world, because my main focus in life and what I want to end with is just as much knowledge as I can possibly gather. I think the best way to gather knowledge is by seeing the world and meeting different people and just experiencing everything there is too.
Where are we going now?
Stadio of Maradona. It's the stadium where all the football events take place in Naples.
So what's happening now here?
We just tried to enter the stadium and unfortunately we were not able to enter because I'm not actually sure, but the man said no.
Did you insist?
Yeah, I insisted, of course, because we came all the way here to see the stadium and we weren't able to, but yeah, we can't do anything about it.
Which country did you like the most so far?
It's a very contradicting question in my mind, because I feel like I've seen many different places in different countries that were so different from one another that just weighs out in different ways. I wouldn't be able to give you a correct answer.
What would you recommend to people who visit Naples?
Well, I think definitely to see the murales of Maradona, because I think it's a really interesting place to go, and of course there are a lot of tourists there, but I think any time of day you can see it in its beauty, and I think it's a really interesting place to visit. I mean, Maradona is basically the religion of Naples, very spiritual, just simply a place decorated with all different things surrounding Maradona.
Visitare più, ma perché questa cosa?
Non lo so in realtà.
Cioè, però è uno schifo perché c'è le persone che vengono dalla...
What was he saying?
Such an awful thing that people come all the way here and we're told not to visit. That's all we were speaking of.
Do you have hobby?
I think all of the hobbies I have and have had, I've turned them into something I can use for profit or to express myself in a large scale, I guess. At the moment, I would like to be soon opening an art gallery if I possibly can in Paris. That's where I'm going to express like all the artistic ways I like to express myself in. I guess painting and drawing and sculpting and just like these things are mostly hobbies at the moment.
When do you feel most alive?
I think it's when I'm dancing and I'm really connecting with my body and my mind. There's a lot more to Oriental dance than a lot of people see. Just belly dance in general, it's something where you have to be very in tune with your body and you have to be very in tune with your mind and kind of have them connected, and because you have to separate all the different parts of your body and when you're dancing, and that's how it differentiates a lot to different other dances, I find. And yeah, it's when I feel most alive is when I'm dancing.
Among those jobs you've ever had, which job did you like the most?
I can say the one that I'm doing now, which is the Oriental dance, belly dance. And if I'd like to think about the jobs I've had in the past, I would even say building ant enclosures, because it's just a very fun memory for me, looking back to those times when I used to do that. I just think the whole process of putting them together, and people were happy and they could have pet ants, and that was a very interesting experience for me.
How can I live free life?
I think that people have to really reach out into possibilities that there are in the world. I think that so many people feel that they're in a box and that they have to follow one street, but really there are so many places and so many things that people can do, and that you are capable of, and that everyone is capable of doing. And I think that in every scenario I've found myself, I started doing each job I've done just because of how in that moment in time, in that place I was in, it felt right and it made sense. I've been in the scenario where I've been in one country and I didn't know what I was going to do when I'd moved to the next, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to be there for myself and keep myself going. But I just thought to myself, you know, at the end of the day I'm going to find something wherever it is that I go. I just have to keep hope and be as ambitious and as hardworking that I am. I think that I'd be able to find anything, and I think the same for you as well, as long as you're there for yourself and you believe in what you can do.
What's your motto for your life?
That could be to get as much knowledge as you possibly can, because I think with knowledge that brings power for yourself and brings stability in your life, and also just simply helps you discover things with a different way of approaching, and you'll have a million ways to approach when you have the knowledge on how to approach, for an example. Yeah, I really believe that knowledge is kind of the best thing you can get out of life, and it should be everyone's motto to have knowledge.
As a last question, do you have goals?
Yes, I think my goals would be to continue with what I'm doing in my life and just my way, and that I hope to figure out everything that makes me feel calm in that moment and makes me feel okay. Just go through with all those things that make me feel right, and that I'm doing the right decision for myself in that moment. I think that's the only way I can imagine my goals being. I don't think it has to be a specific thing, because I think in every moment of life I'm going to want something different, as it should be, and not necessarily. Some people obviously have their line and they like to go through with one thing in their life. Obviously that's great too. Personally, I think that I'm still figuring out which way I should be going and what I should be going through.
Thank you for sharing your day. Love you.
Thank you!